Today's topic comes from essaywriter.org, and it is asking if the use of smartphones is harmful for our mental health. For me personally, I think that for me, my phone is not harmful for my mental health because I was guided with my transition into having a phone at all. I guess I could start with a messed up story of a time that I was mean to my mom and how I actually regretted it. I thought about it and I processed it. And it had to do with our economic situation when I was a kid. And basically, it was my brother is a few years older than me. He got to high school before I was in middle school, of course. So I had trouble understanding that my brother's necessities were evolving. As a result, my mom wanted him to have a cell phone because, on top of that, my brother had disabilities. They were disabilities that had been addressed for some time. Therefore, it's not like, wow, it's defining him and impeding his manifestation out here. But I can understand why mom would say that a phone is a tool. Well, I personally wanted my own phone as well because I had classmates who were asking me why I don't text them. And I told them, hey, it's because we don't have unlimited texting, even if I were to use my mom's phone. But I personally don't have a phone. So one Christmas, mom got me one of those prepaid phones when they were popular. And this one had texting enabled. And I looked at it and I was like, man, you got me one of these. I guess I'll have it turned off forever. And the reason I said that was because I knew that I was going to exceed the limits that were established in that prepaid phone. I was wondering why I couldn't have the same kind of phone that my brother was going to have. Texting, okay, it wasn't unlimited, but at least I could do that up to the limit. So, anyway, when I said that to mom, of course, she was like a little down, a little disappointed, a little frustrated, and she said, okay, I guess I'll return it to the store next time we're in there. And in my little child mind, I was just like, there you go. I used my power to refuse and dismiss a gift. In a sense, I was kind of proud of it, but that didn't mean that I was going to get my phone. I still had to wait maybe like another year or maybe a year and a half. Let's round it up to 2 years before I got my own line, my own phone. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that ultimately I ended up going back to the closet where mom put that prepaid phone. And I dug it up, I opened it up, I turned it on, and I noticed that it had some mini games in it, particularly that snake game. And I said, forget this. I'm keeping this phone. I was excited about that phone because I hadn't seen that mini game since mom had like her Nokia, whatever that was, that looked like a brick and it was indestructible. I loved that game, but now it had somehow gotten better graphics. So ultimately, I kept that phone and I may still have it here somewhere to this day. I don't think I lost it. I definitely wouldn't have thrown it away. But yeah, I ended up keeping it. And we never activated it. I never put minutes in it. And I never asked mom to buy whatever that was, those cards or something that would put minutes in it. Never. I also used it as my directory. I wrote down everybody's phone number in it. Looking back, I feel bad because ultimately I had the phone, but I ended up using it more to communicate with mom more than to communicate with any of my peers or classmates. It wasn't until the summertime at nighttime that my classmates would be free and there was one phone buddy, phone friend that I could say. She would either call me or sometimes I would call her. But that's when I was discovering that I was really not wild about using a phone because phones occupy me in a way that I just don't like. I find that stupid. So, anyway, my friend became the one who was doing most of the calling. And there were nights in which I sincerely just didn't want to be bothered because I would rather be playing video games uninterrupted. And I just told my friend that, hey, tonight I think I'm gonna cut this conversation short unless you don't mind me multitasking. We were pretty much giving each other company, but at the time, that's not an issue I had. So, anyway, with that background out of the way, now let me build myself up to my opinion on smartphones in the present. Of course, way back in my good old days, our phones were simple. It was just for calling or texting. That was it. Navigating the internet with one of those phones, it was extraordinarily expensive, but also not very practical. And it was just hard to use. I only used mine for like a minute because I was curious. But after that, I said, why would I do this if I can do this on a computer? So, as time progressed and people began depending more and more on smartphones, on me personally, because I had the background of my mom instilling in me that phones are supposed to be a tool for emergencies, especially, I guess that messed up my perception of how to use a phone. And what I mean by messed up is it limited me. I looked at a phone as something I can be detached from. It's not something I rely on or depend on. But as an adult, I can tell you that I use it exactly as a tool more than I use it for entertainment. I use it as a tool to find information, to take me places. I don't read maps. I use the GPS pretty much like all of us do. And I also use it to prepare myself for things that may come up. Like, say, I'm anticipating that my vehicle is going to need some kind of repair. How much is it going to cost? How long will it take? Arrangements, pretty much. It helps me be a better manager of my adult life. In addition, I especially enjoy that I don't need to depend on a computer for my internet activities, but my internet activities that concern me the most are the management of my bills and finances. I will get on my phone. The first thing I always do is pay my credit card. Whatever little balance it has from the previous day, I will go ahead and boop, submit the payment. That way I don't forget about it. And the second thing I do is as I am walking toward the bathroom, I will start a round of promos, like the promos for the clothes that I sell. I set my phone to automatically do that. Then I will set it on the counter and continue to get ready for work on the days that I work. Now, on the days that I'm off, I will waste maybe the first hour or second hour for entertainment because I don't like to spend the whole week being detached from what's happening. By entertainment, I mean I may deliberately look up humor. It's humor that usually revolves around my interests anyway. Like, who is making fun of which politician and why? And at the same time, I'm also keeping myself informed. Looking up topics like that inspires me to look further into the topic. And another thing I may do is see what's trending. And that's usually how I get a good feel for what the news are. And say if there are any recalls, that's the way I find out as well. And I may also waste another few minutes looking at exercise ideas, and it's been helping me tremendously with my sciatic nerve pain. And now I feel like I'm more motivated to actively do something about it as opposed to just being at rest because I don't want to move because otherwise I'll feel it. But I also understand that if I don't move, that makes the problem worse. Little things like that. However, when it comes to how I observe other people using the phone and how we're different, I find that the folks who have trouble managing their phone usage, it almost seems to me like they're escaping from something. You want to escape from your stress, your problems. It's an addiction that you could compare to alcohol. And if you were to mix alcohol with the phone, I think that makes it even worse because what you may look at on a phone, the alcohol is going to amplify your reaction to it. And I think that when people get too obsessed and fixated on their power to find out things on demand, that is when the phone becomes an issue. I particularly hate it when I'm trying to have a conversation with somebody and they're multitasking on the phone. And the next thing I do to prove that they have been neglecting what I've been telling them is I will ask them a question that is related to what I just said, and I'm deliberately asking a question that is exactly something I just said to see if you can tell me what I just told you, as opposed to asking you, okay, what did I just tell you? Huh? Because I know that you're going to be like, huh? So to avoid that stupid goddamn huh, I will go ahead and ask a question that would require that you repeat what I just told you. And if you don't answer that question correctly or you don't have an answer at all, what I do is I say, I'll catch you at a better time. I will dismiss myself from this conversation because clearly we're not having a conversation. And I don't like to talk at people. I like to have responses too. Even if what I'm telling you takes me 10 minutes to get it across, you will patiently sit there and take it. So, anyway, when you start knowing more about what's happening outside of the home more than what's happening at home, I think it's evident that your phone is bad for you. And it can also be bad for you if you find yourself limiting your usage with it. Are you looking up gossip? Are you stalking people that you know, trying to see if they have posted anything? When your phone buzzes and it's because someone just went live or someone posted something, are you looking at it? Have you made an effort to silence notifications on your phone? Have you attempted to filter it? Like, some of my family members, I have put a filter on them. I'm like, I want to be notified of this person's activities once a week or once a month in some cases. I think when you start to morph into the activity that you're absorbing online, that is a problem. I have observed behavioral changes on people from the way they speak and the way they opine on things. And I'm like, the words that you're using sound like the words that come from people who are, say, on those goddamn stupid manospheres that incels, I guess, hang out at, or some feminazi speech. You can pick up on it too, which is like those female vocabulary words that they like to use. And I'm like, if I catch you pretty much reciting that, I think you have a problem. I think you should arrive at a conclusion independently, as opposed to, I learned something that someone else said and I agreed with what they said, therefore I'm going to repeat it exactly as I heard them say it word for word. No, you need to be able to deliver what you learned in your own words. If you use your own words, now you're using yourself, your identity, to express yourself. It becomes your belief now, as opposed to you are spreading the words that somebody else said because now that person has a hold on you. There are some things that I listen to that I'm like, okay, I can agree with that, and this information is great, amazing. But what if I don't agree with 100% of it? I gotta be able to explain on my own what it is that made me reject a certain idea. But nowadays, I feel like people are literally surrendering their will, their freedom to influences who you don't know, especially not in person, and you're allowing these people to influence how you make financial decisions, how you make relationship decisions, how you live your life. And I can understand if you have trouble, say, understanding banking. I know I suck at banking because it's not something that I really grew up being taught much about. Like, what is a Roth IRA and how investments work. To this day, I still don't understand how money can make money when you're not touching it, all that kind of shit. If you're learning about that, fantastic. But if you're letting that completely take over your life sabotage how you're used to doing things if you did not have a problem, I think that is a problem. Because I have met people who have changed because they have met a niche online that influences how they behave out here in real life. If you're struggling with your weight, for instance, I think it's great that you look up exercises, that you look up diet advice. That is great. But do not let this consume you, because once it begins to consume you, it feels like cult behavior. And this, you have to be able to let it go at some point. Stop letting that fucking thing occupy you when you're driving, when you're at home, when you're at work, especially if it's something stupid that doesn't do anything for you. Celebrity gossip doesn't do anything for you. And entertainment that's just stupid, like say someone making comparisons of someone's stutter sounding like Porky Pig or something like that, you have to manage that because that is time consuming. Not all of your free time can be consumed by entertainment. That is the point here. And I'm finding that because the world is stressful, because life is stressful, because work is stressful, home is stressful, you're using that as an escape. That is your new addiction now. I guess it's better than you being addicted to substances, but in some cases, you're trading one for another or you're combining both of those. I think that is a problem. Even if you're online consuming content that is good for you, such as getting exercise ideas, dieting, getting financial ideas, all that, you have to know how to not depend on that. And that is when I think that the phone becomes harmful for your mental health. Because if you're detached from it, all of a sudden you don't know anything. If you needed to, for some reason, pay a bill because your phone broke, you would rather get in debt buying a phone rather than resolving this situation like you used to back in the good old days. Some people don't have the skill of experiential transactions, which would be my version of saying, oh, I don't have access to the internet or being online. What would I do if I didn't have that tool? If I don't have the phone, I should be able to exist as a human being capable without using my phone. Sometimes I'll be in the middle of telling someone something, let's say something random, to give a crazy example. If I were to say, oh, there are some singers who I grew up listening to who are now 40 years old, and I name drop one, the person may go like, what? They're in their 40s now? And they'll pull out their fucking phone, look up this person's name, and look up exactly how old they are. Why do you do that? Or sometimes they'll be watching a movie or listening to some song, and they'll be like, I think this song came out in so and so year. Let me look it up. I want to know exactly what year that was. And you will stop what you're doing to reach for your fucking phone, look up that information, and then you'll be like, oh, I just received a notification that blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, that subject changed entirely. And I didn't even get to finish what I was saying. At that point, I don't care to finish what I was saying. That's what I hate. When the phone just has so much power over you that you don't realize it. Learn to detach from that fucking shit. You can do it. And if you can't detach from it, just remember to make yourself busy with things that actually do things for you. Clean the house, wash the dishes, wash the car, take it to maintenance, and all that stuff, as opposed to just being continuously online. I understand if you pick one day to just waste at catching up on entertainment and all that shit, because I admit I do it too. Sometimes I just want to rewatch a movie, or I just want to catch up with some really good creators here on the platform, or sometimes I just need to rediscover old music or discover new music or things like that. That's fine. It's perfectly healthy. But I'm talking about in the daily, when you just cannot be hours away from this goddamn device, you have a problem. And I can tell you that in the day, I can go 4, 5, 6 hours detached from my phone. I may need to tune into it every couple of hours exclusively to activate my phone into sending out a round of promos, because after all, I do need the supplemental income that's doing something for me. But despite me having the potential of making money using my device, I don't allow for that to control my day, no matter how desperate for money I am. It's no different from making videos. I have to regulate that. I have to manage that. Some days I can make videos, some days I cannot. And some days I'm gonna have time to list more items to sell. Some days I'm gonna have to send promos. Some days I'm going to have to accept that I'm having my time consumed unreasonably by that stuff. And that, again, even though I'm trying to be responsible and get myself ahead financially, it's not right because it can mess with me. You have to recognize when you are being saturated, when you're being fatigued from something. You are probably more fatigued from your online activities more than you think. And the problem is maybe you're not thinking about it. And the problem is that when someone points out to you the symptoms that are clear evidence that you're being negatively affected by your phone usage, you get defensive, you get angry, you get offended. At this point, there needs to be a smartphone rehab center. There really needs to be one. Why isn't there one? This shit needs to be regulated. And when websites go down, social media goes down, or reception goes bad, you get angry as fuck, don't you? That is another symptom that you have issues. You need this shit regulated. So anyways, you guys, in case you didn't pick up on it, the first time I said it, yes, I do think that smartphones are bad for you. They're detrimental for you. If you don't know how to stay focused at looking at that device as a tool for furthering yourself or helping you get adult things done, such as your bills and shit like that. If you rely on it for entertainment, escapism, if you need to escape too much from your reality, maybe take action to resolve the problems in your reality that keep you addicted to that fucking thing. Just do it. Do it. Well, there you guys have it. That's gonna be it from me on this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Me getting angry during this topic is a reflection of me having struggled with this matter. I've struggled with it in my personal life, in my professional life, and I get to the point where I just don't find that acceptable, and that's just how I react. And I think that it should piss you off too, whether you are the person addicted or whether you are the victim of the person who is addicted to that goddamn device. Okay, that's it. Bye.